I'm Idiotech, and this is Indie Spotlight, where I highlight some smaller indie titles that I think deserve your attention. Now, today's game is Card Hunter. This game was originally released as a browser game about a year ago now, and has just come out on Steam, so I thought I'd check it out. The easiest way to describe this game would be to say it's a mix between Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. And it's honestly quite an interesting game, and it has a reasonable business model considering it's free to play. So we'll just jump straight in. So this is the world map, and I'll just show you sort of how big this actually is. It's a pretty big map, honestly, and this, I imagine, a fair amount of content here. So that's good considering what I've played so far. So basically on the map, you'll start the game with a tutorial, in a sense, and you'll go through and complete some easy missions, and they were actually down here, and they've now disappeared because my party is too high level for them. And you can see here there's some quests here that are grey, indicating they're sort of too low level for me as well. But I can repeat quests daily if I want to try and level up and beat some of the harder content. Say I'm struggling with these ones up here, I can repeat these and try and get some more experience to try and level up so I can try and beat them or get better items. That's essentially how it works. So what we're going to do is, just to sort of describe how this works, I'm just going to go to the tavern. Now, the tavern is the place where you recruit new heroes, essentially, if you want to change members of your party. I actually don't want to do that, and I'm not entirely sure at this point why you would, but you can do it. Obviously, there are benefits to various party members, but considering I've already leveled these up and they don't die and there's no permadeath, I don't really see why I would do that, but you can. Anyway, so these are my heroes. I have a warrior, I have a mage, and I have a priest, and that seems to be the party combination you'll end up with. And the way that this works is you have these various items like you would in any other RPG, but these items have cards associated with them. So if I click on this one, you can see that I have a series of cards that are attached to that item. And that's kind of how this game works. You pick up loot, and that loot has cards associated with it, and then you build a deck by choosing specific armor types. I actually kind of like that mechanic, and it's a nice tie-in to traditional RPGs. So I have 3 people, a warrior, a mage, and a priest. And so you can recruit new people at the tavern, at the armory, or these various places here, the daily deal. You can buy various items, so I'll go to the armory, and I'll show you how that works. So you can buy various items, and there's a quick sorting method, whereas if you just click on, say, a piece of armor, it will show you what they have for sale, which I find kind of useful. Also, you can select things here, like, for example, treasure. If I had treasure, I could sell it. Currently, I'm not allowed to sell other items. It did say later in the game I would be able to, so as you can see there, I'm not allowed to do that right now. I've played this game now for about 2 hours, and so it's obviously not a review. I'm not covering this in huge detail. I would have had to play, you know, a lot more than I've played to do that. What this is just a first impressions and giving you guys, you know, my opinions on it so far. So you can travel between your sort of keep, where you can add things to a collection so you don't have stuff cluttering up your inventory. You've got the tavern here where you can recruit people. You have shops where you can buy items. You have a place where you can purchase chests, and you can do that for gold. So I'll just buy one now and open it to demonstrate that. And you'll see I've gotten some loot here. Neither of these are good. They're both low-level items. So that was kind of a waste of my time. But you can obviously buy these. Now, you'll see you can buy some for pizza. And this is the free-to-play currency that comes in. I'll get into that a little bit later. Anyway, so you can do that. And you can also buy costumes. And you can do that for pizza as well. So if you want to have a night that looks a little different, you can do that. You can pay real money for it. It's your choice. Honestly, a lot of this is cosmetic or chest rolling, the business model, but we'll get into that more later. Anyway, so, and then you have these quests, and that's it. You jump into the quests and you do them. So I'll go do this one because I think it was easy enough, and I just want to demonstrate it to you without dying. So we'll do some of the harder stuff later. So here you'll see it's very much like traditional D&D, right? There's like these adventure modules. It's got that style, it's got that theme and that aesthetic. And when we jump into the battle, you'll see what I mean about that. It's got that very iconic Dungeons and Dragons feel to it. And I really like that, actually. I think this aesthetic is great with the pieces on the board and everything like that. I just really like the way this looks, you know, playing on a tabletop. The presentation of the game, I think, is really nice. It appeals to me, definitely. I love those old tile sets and the figures and stuff from D&D. So, you know, it's a personal preference thing, but I think it's done well. And I think for the most part, the sound effects and animations are done well as well. So, here's the situation. It's a turn-based, card-based sort of, it's very difficult to describe, honestly. You have these moves and abilities which are on cards, and then everything else is just traditional D&D, essentially. So we'll just jump in. Okay, so this is kind of difficult because we have, as you can see, not that much in terms of field of view, so I can't use any of these spells. So it's really a case of just moving my pieces around right this second, so I'm going to do that. Now, the one thing that I have had a problem with in this game is the dependence on a server. And that has come into play quite a lot. I haven't actually seen any of these cards before. So let me just have a quick look at these. Oh, 6 damage. Wow. Let's see if we can get that one to go off. Nope. Okay, so there's an armor mechanic in this as well. I best explain these mechanics to you. So when I try and hit someone, as I just did then, if they have an item such as this, hardy mail, you'll see down here triggers on the roll of 3 or more. So there's dice rolls in the game when it comes to armor, and these will automatically apply. So if you have a piece of armor in your hand, it will automatically be rolled on when an enemy attacks you or you attack an enemy. So this enemy had armor, I rolled against it, I didn't beat it, so I didn't do as much damage as I would have. In fact, I think I only did half as amount of damage. So it's got this armor mechanic, which is useful. I would have preferred that it was a more active mechanic in a one-use case, and you could sort of counter. So you could choose, so you could say, oh, you know, he's hitting me with a very powerful spell. I will use my armor card to deflect that damage, and hopefully he doesn't draw that card again. But that's not how they chose to do it. You also have healing spells and things like that, utility spells. So I can play both of these cards, and I will. Oh, this is a movement card and an attack card. Interesting. So I'll move here and then attack him. So yeah, what I was saying about the servers is this is an online game, and it does require you to have servers, connection to online servers in order to play it. And for the most part, that's fine, but I have had some troubles. This should kill him. Yep, there we go. And you'll see up here, I've just been attacked there. You'll see up here we have stars. And so I'm required to get 3 stars in order to beat this level. And you'll get various scenarios, some ambushes, some encounters, some boss fights, some levels with these positions that you have to stand on to earn points. And the longer you stand there and can defend that position, the more points you win. And when you get to 3 stars, you win the level. So in this case, I assume each of these creatures will give me a star, and that's how I win. Whereas the Dungeon Master, Gary in this case, has to get this many stars to beat me. So it's, you know, heavily in my favor. So yeah, what I was saying about the servers was, and I'll just move my characters into position here. What I was saying about the servers is that I have had lag problems, and it could just be because the game's just come out on Steam, and so a lot of people are trying it out and playing it, but I have had significant lag problems at times where I've been waiting up to 5 minutes for my turn to go through. Now that's only happened to me 3 times, to be fair, but it is kind of frustrating, and I'm hoping that gets sorted out as the player numbers even off, because I assume a lot of people are playing this because it's free, you know, and it's honestly quite an interesting and well-made game. So yep, that one should be dead too. So this is sort of how combat works. It's not the most exciting example. I have had more exciting missions. So now we're in a position now where I don't have any cards really that I want to use, and I mean I could potentially heal this wizard, so I'll do that. But really, other than that, there's nothing else I want to do. So this is where I end the round. And if the Dungeon Master chooses to end the round, we start the next round and we get a new hand of cards. So that's how it works. And if you have more than 2 cards in your hand at the end of your round, you have to discard some cards. So this is a special card that's flashing right now. And if I attach it to myself, it boosts my healing, essentially. And as a priest, that's very useful. But I'm not going to actually use any healing spells right now. This is also a counter spell, which I haven't used before because I got some new gear yesterday. Target discards their oldest 2 magic cards. That's useful against magical opponents. So yes, right now the wizard doesn't have much other than this simple strike and is weak and squishy, so we are only against 1 opponent, but normally I would probably move him out of the way. I'm probably going to run my warrior up there and try and do some damage. And hopefully we can take this guy out this turn. Or this round, I should say. You see that lag there while the card was just sitting there? That happens, especially on run cards. I find that happens a lot, movement cards. And it is sometimes pretty frustrating and annoying, if I'm honest. So that is a downside to the game. And there we go, we've killed him. Easy. Victory! Now, I'm not sure we'll get rewards for this. collect loot. Do we get a reward? Because I have completed this before, so we'll have to see. You see I've clicked the button and I'm still waiting, so there is that online lag. And this is one of the first free-to-play mechanics that I'm going to demonstrate to you here. Right, now, you'll see here it says Club Reward. And this is an important thing to note. Now, this is a terrible item. And I'm not sure why these are so bad today, but they are bad. So we got a stave and some a skill and some boots. Not very good. But the club rewards you don't get unless you have this feature. So the Card Hunter Club. Now, essentially what this gives you is you buy this for 80 pieces of pizza, and it gives you 7-day, 30-day, 90-day, 180 days, and 360 days, right? And you buy this with pizza, and what it does is it gives you an extra roll, essentially, when you open chests, and you're opening chests a lot in this game, and these items have a tendency to be pretty good. And as you can see here, it says your club reward item will at least be rare as the rarest item you would otherwise be guaranteed. So there is a benefit to this. And it is potentially you're buying power, I guess, in that you're buying an extra drop and therefore you could get a better item. And chests are also a concern because you can buy sort of epic chests with pizza and guarantee yourself an epic item. So there are ways to circumvent the loot system. However, I've never really understood that as a free-to-play mechanic because, I mean, this club reward thing I think is good because you can get an extra roll on an item, and I like that, but just straight up buying an epic item from a chest, I never really understood that. It kind of circumvents the whole reward loop in an RPG, so I'm not really sure why that's in here, but I guess they need to find ways to incentivize people. So this is a good point to just talk about the free-to-play mechanic in general. So we have this, which is the Card Hunter Club, where we can buy essentially access to extra rolls. We have this where we can buy more gold for pizza, so we can convert pizza into gold. We have this where we can buy pizza, and if it actually loads up the menu properly, there we go. So this is a little more complicated, so I'll go through this. So you can actually just sort of buy versions of the game. So this is the basic version of the game, this is an expansion, this is an expansion. And you can essentially just buy the game, but it's a little bit misleading, I think, in that sense, because what it gives you is 11 exciting treasure hunt adventures. Now, every adventure you do in the game isn't a treasure hunt adventure. There are occasionally treasure hunt adventures that pop up, and you have to pay pizza in order to give them an attempt at them, right? And so what this does is it unlocks those for you. It's pretty simple. There are 11 missions in the game that otherwise you would have to pay pizza for. They give them to you if you buy the basic edition. You get some cool treasure and loot from those. You get a 1-month club membership, which I've just described, where it gives you an extra roll on chests, and then 100 pizza slices to do with as you will, buy cosmetic items or convert it into gold, and then 9 extra figures. So the cosmetic figures I was showing you earlier, they give you those. And then here you can get some additional figures, and then here you can get some additional figures and additional treasure hunting missions. So, you know, you can go that way and essentially pay for it like a normal game, and it will unlock the various things you would normally unlock for yourself with pizza. So, I mean, that is a way just to straight up buy the game if you're that kind of person. Alternatively, you can buy pizza slices and they go up to incredibly expensive prices. I wouldn't do this, honestly. Now, there is a little trick, and I'll just... Oh, I'm not sure I actually can back out. If you go back to the main map, which I'll show you later, but when you go back to the main map, they're going to give you a tutorial mission where they tell you to try and buy one of these cosmetic characters. Don't do that. Instead, cancel out of it, go up here and buy a week's membership so you can get increased chance of rolls, because items are more useful to you than visual cosmetic things, right? So that's my advice to you. But yeah, I mean, look, it's a free-to-play game. You can also buy chests, which I showed you on the map earlier. It's a free-to-play game, right? Now, I don't feel that the single-player element of this game is at all affected by these mechanics. If you want to circumvent things and buy loot for yourself, fine, go ahead. There is some concern that it might affect multiplayer. However, in multiplayer, as far as I can tell, and I haven't played much of it at all, you get sort of a randomized deck, you know, made of randomized items. And so, I don't know, there are elements to that. There's a ranked version of multiplayer, and look, honestly, I'm a bit ignorant on the multiplayer side of things. I haven't really gone into it much. It doesn't really appeal to me, and I have only played the game for 2 hours, so, and this isn't a full review, just to be clear. But the multiplayer aspect of the game does have some potential maybe for some abuse of those free-to-play mechanics. I honestly can't comment on them in full, and if anyone does know about those, please let people know in the comments. But As far as I can tell, there is some potential there for some buying of power, but not much. And if you're just playing this for the single player component, which I think a lot of people are, then I really don't see any problems with these mechanics at all. So we'll jump into the next mission. And so you can see that this specific module is made of 2 exciting battles. So this is the second battle in that module. And it should be a boss fight, I assume. It is a boss fight of sorts. Okay, so we basically have to kill these 4 dudes, and we don't really know what they do, but I imagine this wizard does wizardy things, and these spearmen... I know spearmen can hit you from 2 squares away, and I know these trogs are just basic units. So we will take our warrior, and we will run in. And this is a pillar, by the way, so no one can actually walk there, so he can't flank me. So you have to actually consider the map as well, which I appreciate. I think having like these physical things, even though it is a 2D plane, that you can strategize around is useful. So I'm going to hit this dude. And he ran away from me, which isn't helpful. I'm going to move my paladin forward. My priest. I think it's a paladin, but, you know, they're calling it a priest. Someone wearing armor with a shield and a hammer to me is a paladin, but, you know, whatever. And then we'll move the mage forward into this gap here and try and get some damage off. If we can. So yes, we can. I'm actually going to hit this one and just take it out of the fight, if possible. And you see that lag there? Yeah, that's the servers. I hope that does clear up, because it is frustrating. I'm also going to chuck a heal. No, I'm not. It's too early for a heal. I'm going to attack this mage with my mage, because mages tend to have some pretty powerful long-range spells that I prefer not to be happening right now. And that's really about all I can do, so I may as well chuck some heals on people before I end the turn. This Frenzy card is a buff card, which I'm going to save for a more important moment in the fight. And I will pass my turn. And Gary has ended the round. So we've now ended the round, we've entered the second round, we get a new hand of cards, and again, we start the process. So I'm going to give my healing buff to my priest. I'm going to walk forward a square and smack this dude in the face with this bludgeon. And just remember that all of these cards are based on items that I get. Okay, so that kind of hurt my character a fair amount. Hotspot. I've never actually seen this card before. Target square becomes lava terrain at the start of each round. Occupant takes 8 fire damage. Wow, okay. I'm going to pop that down there. Click anywhere to continue. So hopefully he doesn't have a move card to use on that guy, and we can do some serious damage. Come on, card. Go through. So yeah, I don't know. It's not the biggest issue in the world, but I do find that kind of frustrating, and I'm just pointing it out because it's something you will notice when you play. I'm going to run my warrior over here and try and take this guy out. So that was an armor check. You see I have this armor here, and he rolled lower than a 4. Or I rolled lower than a 4, sorry. So he's got 4 health, so we'll use the bludgeon. And he's gone, and we get a star. So we're 2 stars towards completion. And just keeping in mind, this is easy because I am higher level than this content. I just wanted to illustrate the mechanics to you. Although I did find the early stages of the game quite easy, if I'm honest. It was only later on that I started to actually be challenged by the content. So that's something to keep in mind. However, this game does appear to be quite deep in terms of the amount of content available. There does appear to be an awful lot of content in this game. And you would expect it, considering it's free to play and they get money and can continue to develop it. So I don't have any more movement cards, and hopefully he doesn't have any more attack cards, otherwise my priest is probably going to die. Yeah. So I have to end the round here, and I also have to discard a card. So I'm going to discard this simple strike and keep the perforating strike, because it does more damage, essentially. And this warrior is built currently to focus, and there we go. There goes my priest. This warrior currently is focused on armor penetration and stuff like that. That's what he's focused on currently. So I'm going to try and run over to this trog, but I'm actually not going to be able to do it. I am going to be able to move this forward one and do some pretty reasonable damage, unless he rolls against it. So you see the server lagging again there. Alright, so 5 damage went through, that's good. Let's stick 2 damage through. Okay, so 3 damage, that's good. Now, I'm going to try and get my warrior over here. I can't really predict where he's going to move, but I imagine he's not going to move back into the lava, so maybe over this direction. I'll try and get as close as I can. You can see these darker squares as well. These are environmental areas such as this. This is rubble. You'll move slowly through this, whereas the rest of the stuff you'll move at a normal speed through. So that's something to keep in mind. I'll move my warrior here. And I'm going to have to end the round because I don't have the ability to do anything else. Now, I'm going to get rid of this lunging hack, and I'm going to get rid of this perforating strike, because the bludgeon does the most damage. I'm a little concerned about my mage right now. Can we do straight up 3 damage? No, but I can get in range with my run. Actually, that was not the correct decision. I shouldn't have made that decision. I thought I was moving the warrior there. I'm going to move the warrior here and see if I can just bludgeon this dude to death and get them fight over with, essentially. Nope, he moves. So you do have this mechanic where you'll move towards them and they'll run away. Only these trogs seem to do that. Other creatures will just go straight at you. There's lots of different enemy types in this as well. I mean, essentially, if you know anything about Dungeons and Dragons, it is essentially D&D, but instead of the traditional D&D mechanics, you're playing with this card mechanic, and it works for a video game quite well. I think it's handled well, honestly. I think it adds some randomness and the fun of that procedural nature of, you know, dice rolls and stuff. Okay, so we've completed that, so now we get to collect our loot, and we level up, which is cool. And I'll show you the level up mechanics, which is useful to be able to do. Okay, so I'm just going to open this chest and see what we got first. Okay, so we got a fair few items for completing that. We also got a lot of green items. So these are uncommon items. It's very similar to games like World of Warcraft. You know, it's white, green, blue, purple, and then legendary items. I think they're also orange, the legendary items. And we also got some treasure, which we can sell. So you'll see when I leveled up here, you may have seen, you'll get 1 point for every level in health. So every time you level up, you get 1 health point, and you also unlock these new slots for gear. So I can click here and show my helmets, and we can have a look at this and see what it offers us. So quick reactions card, we have life-saving block, and obvious maneuver. So we could choose to wear this. I'm going to, just for illustration's sake. I'm not sure I would normally, but we do have that available to us now. So that's sort of how the leveling up system works. The more you level up, the more pieces become available to you, the more slots, etc., etc., the more health you get. And you can get more cards and have a bigger deck and, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, it's like a traditional deck building game. You may not want to take that many cards with you because you want to, you don't need that many cards in a fight and you want to increase the chances of you getting specific things. So, yeah, it's cool. It has all the deck building mechanics you would normally get from a game like this, but also the RPG mechanics you would get from D&D. And I like it. So, finish. Now, the one thing I will say about this game is I would personally prefer to play this on an iPad, right? In bed or on a couch, chilling out, watching some TV in the evening, jump in, play a few matches. You know, it's a slow turn-based game. You take it easy, you play a game like that. I'm not sure how suited it is for PC, and I'm not entirely sure if this game is even available for the iPad, but I do know it's available in the web browser, so you could play it there. And that's honestly where I think it belongs. Now, I really do like the game, and I like its mechanics a lot, and it is a proper game. I'm not remotely comparing this to a game, you know, like the traditional sort of wait-to-play iPad model. But it does feel like a game that's more suited to that environment. A game like Faster Than Light also, I felt, was more suited to that environment, and I own that on the iPad. And I think it's great there. There are a lot of games coming out now on PC. I played another game recently called Holy Potatoes, a Weapon Shop, and I might cover that as well. And that also felt very much like it would be more suited to the mobile platform. But what is here is simply this. Every day you can jump in, you can play these missions, you beat them, and then they'll open up more and open up more and open up more, and you get more and more and more loot. And then you get more powerful and you build your decks and you go in and you fight. And that's it. You know, it's not complicated. It is the combat from D&D mixed with the combat from Magic the Gathering. You get rewards in the form of loot, which give you new cards to build your characters and have, you know, new cards in your decks. And that's it. really. And then you can go and gamble on pieces or buy some cosmetics, and, you know, that's really all the game has to offer. Now, there is the multiplayer component, and I will just show this to you briefly, although I don't have enough experience in this to comment on it. But as far as I can tell, if we just load this up, you can read this. If you want to pause the video, you can read that. That explains the quick draw form of multiplayer. It's very similar to games like Hearthstone's Arena from the sounds of things. And then you have ranked player match, where you have to go in and create a party. And that's the area of the game I can't comment on, and I'm not sure if these purchasable chests could potentially affect this mode, because I haven't been able to play it. If we jump into the Citadel, at the moment we're currently being offered these for free every day. So I'm just going to open mine. Okay, so I've got some reasonable items there, specifically this hammer. And there's one more mechanic I actually probably should mention to you, and I forgot to, is if we jump over here, you'll see these power tokens. Now, a character will require these for certain items. So if you look at this item here, you'll see just under, I can't actually move the mouse to show you, but just under where it says ×1, you'll see a little blue lightning bolt. And you get these power tokens as you level up. So as your characters become more powerful, they allow you to use these more powerful weapons. That's simply how that mechanic works. It's not particularly complicated. So yeah, there is a multiplayer component, and there is also a co-op component, which I also can't comment on. But from what I've played, I think it's a casual sort of game you jump into for 20 minutes a day. You know, it's something just like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering or any of those types of games where you jump in, you have a game, well, not necessarily Magic the Gathering, but Hearthstone is a good example here. You jump in, you play the game briefly for maybe 10-20 minutes, and you jump out. That's the kind of game it is, and I think it would be very suited to the iPad platform. I hope they bring it there in an app form, unless it already exists and I'm just not aware of it. But that's the kind of game it is, and if it's free. So, I mean, if you're looking for just something you can jump into for 10-20 minutes a day, have a bit of fun, you know, think strategically, because some of these levels get pretty strategic later on, and they can get pretty difficult. My party right now is a level 3, I think, maybe level 4. Oh, level 5 now, actually, because we just leveled up. Yeah, level 5, and then this one's level 6. But yesterday I had to do this mission, this treasure mission this was, and I did that when I was level 4, and it was very challenging, and I died several times, and I only just managed to beat it. And I found that really compelling and enjoyable, so that's something to consider, you know? It does offer strategic depth for those of you who are looking for that. And it also offers the casual jump in, jump out gameplay that you might find on an iPad game. So I like it. I think it's worth checking out. The game's free. I think it has a relatively fair business model. I'm not sure about the influence of that business model on the multiplayer, so you do need to keep that in mind. But look, I think it's free, and I think it's worth checking out. So those are my thoughts on the game. If you liked this video and found it helpful in some way, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, like, favorite, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.